Is Florida State getting screwed once again? Well, the Seminoles sure think they are, at least this time by the NCAA. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football, college basketball, and conference realignment all day, every day. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. Live shows Wednesdays and Sundays. They are a blast. Make sure you get here. People from all over the college football world. It is a ton of fun. Click the subscribe button. Click the bell so you know what it is that I am delivering content to you. Like the video and let me know what you think in the comments if Florida State is making too much of this or if the Seminoles are, in fact, getting screwed. So here's the deal. You guys all remember, right? Florida State went 13-0 this past year in football. It's a pretty good football team. Unfortunately, their quarterback got hurt, and the NCAA, well, not the NCAA. Let me amend that. It was the College Football Playoff Selection Committee decided to penalize them for that and did not put them in the college football playoff as an unbeaten 13-0 Power 5 conference champ, which was pretty ridiculous. In retrospect, I will step up to the plate and stand up for Florida State in saying that. So you can imagine and forgive the Seminoles if they are a bit sensitive here, if they think they are being unjustly punished. Now, you can debate whether or not they're being unjustly punished by the ACC payouts that are leading to them suing the conference. Set that aside, they took a rough one on the chin with the college football playoff. And now, frankly, I think they have a point with the NCAA here. In the latest Ross Dellinger article, he is reporting on a letter that he has obtained about Florida State, sending this to the NCAA, upset about them getting the hammer placed on them when perhaps others are not, and when that hammer has been taken away by the court. Let me explain. Florida State is petitioning the NCAA to rescind penalties imposed on the school for NIL-related recruiting violations after a court this spring enjoined the association from enforcing its own rules. Using the word enjoin there is certainly a choice. Court told them they could not enforce their own rules. Now, all this, the petition, is according to a letter the school sent to the NCAA earlier this month that Ross Dellinger has obtained. It was sent to the chair and managing directors of the NCAA Division I Committee on Infractions. The letter outlines reasons for reconsideration of a subsection of penalties, including a fine, scholarship reductions, recruiting restrictions, and dissociation of a booster. Look, it seems like at its core a perfectly reasonable request. This was over an NIL issue that since is not even an issue. We have sweeping changes that are being made here. We're about to get a settlement literally this week from everybody in college athletics over the House case, which will make it okay for schools to directly pay the athletes. We'll have revenue sharing. It would seem very, very silly here to hold Florida State's feet to the fire on this thing. The penalties are the result of a rule-breaking incident that occurred in 2022 when a booster and representative of the school's NIL collective made an offer to a prospect. What are we doing here? As I read this, and this is what we know what the NCAA was doing at the time. They were just selectively choosing a couple of these incidents. Asked Tennessee about this as well. Selectively choosing a couple of these incidents to make an example of when they knew they couldn't control everything that was going on. In January, the school entered into a negotiation resolution with the NCAA over the case, which featured the most serious sanctions handed down since the organization in 2021 permitted athletes to earn NIL money. However, about 6 weeks after the finalization of that case, a U.S. district court in Tennessee restrained the NCAA from enforcing its interim NIL policy, which kept athletes from negotiating NIL compensation with third parties. As noted in the letter, the NCAA also announced it was pausing current enforcement investigations that Florida State believes NIL-related activities similar to the Florida State case. So the NCAA announced it was pausing enforcement investigations. Florida State is saying, well, look, those are all very similar to what we incurred, but because we were first in line, we were the first one that you decided to pursue, we're the only ones getting actually penalized here because we are having to follow through on what it is that you threw down as a penalty. As a part of the negotiated resolution, Florida State agreed to a 3-game suspension of the assistant coach, whose offensive coordinator, Alex Atkins. He drove the player to the booster meeting. Wow. I mean, boy, of all the terrible things you could be doing in this life, driving a player to a booster meeting to allow him to make money off of his name sounds horrible. A disassociation from one of its booster-led collectives and myriad other sanctions, including a 2-year probation. Good God, I forgot it was this much. reductions in scholarships, recruiting, communications, and official visits, and a financial penalty equal to 1% of its athletic department budget. The school agrees to serve the probation and suspend the coach, and it has already served a number of the recruiting sanctions. However, Florida State argues it is not obligated to serve several other penalties, including the fine, the scholarship reduction, several other recruiting sanctions, reduction in evaluation days, and official visits this spring. Like, it seems more than fair. Like, Florida State already complied to a degree on this. They're not saying you have to go back and we have to get everything back. Some of that can't even be taken back. They've done some of this. They've done more than enough time for this. It's kind of a ridiculous notion that they were being penalized for all of this anyway. The letter notes that dissociation penalties and booster restrictions are squarely tied to the court's preliminary injunction and therefore cannot be enforced by Florida State or the NCAA at this time. So they take it a step further and say, look, some of this stuff you can't even enforce if you want right now legally based on what's going on. And we can't even enforce this if we would like to because of what's happening legally. FSU is, quote, disadvantaged by taking steps to expedite the resolution of its case when other potential violators are benefiting from the NCAA's pause, including, guess who? Guess who Florida State points out is benefiting from the pause here? That'd be the Florida Gators. The University of Florida is under investigation for NIL-related rule breaking as well, and that's a case that Florida State cites in the footnote of this letter. Well done, Florida State. That's a great way to tie it in and really drive the point home. Look, our freaking rivals are benefiting from this, and we are not, just because you came after us first. Here's a quote from the letter. FSU should not be the only institution penalized simply because it was first in the queue. The violations for which it is responsible were more limited, and it fully cooperated to resolve the case. The letter was sent from Kansas City, right in my backyard. The letter was sent from the school's Kansas City-based law firm, Bond, Schoeneck, and King, to Kay Norton, the chair of the NCAA Division I Committee on Infractions, and the NCAA Managing Director of the Office of the Committee on Infractions. The NCAA is in an interesting position with active enforcement of rule breaking, along with the Tennessee case. The organization is on the precipice of, the landmark lawsuit settlement that is likely coming up now. Look, can we do something sensible here? I'm not always the biggest Florida State fan in the world. They certainly are acting rather brash in their dealings with the ACC. That is very interesting to watch from afar. But this, they have a very compelling point on. NIL restriction stuff was stupid. It would be very similar to me as somebody in the country right now being like, why are you still holding me? Can I get off of my weed charges, right? Like, weed is legal in like 30 states right now. In the state that I'm at, it's fine now. Why are you still trying to crush me for this? Especially when my buddy over there is smoking and nothing's happening to him, my rival over there. That's Florida State. Just let them have it. Just let them have it. They've served some of their time. NCAA, do right by Florida State, please. Remember, please subscribe to the channel. Click the bell so you know when it is that I'm going live. Like the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should Florida State actually get off on this? Do they have a point? Take care, and I will talk to you soon.